Assalamu alaikum. How are you? I am fine. Alhamdulillah. Throughout history, Satan has made various attempts to mislead humanity from the path of faith and piety. One of his ways is to spread the news that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a child. As happened with a prophet who lived under the law of Prophet Moses. Who is he? Let's see his story. Bismillah. After the time of Prophet Moses, there was a messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala among the children of Israel, namely Uzair. He was a descendant of the children of Israel, who lived between the time of David and Solomon and the time of Zechariah and John, around 451 BC. Prophet Uzair followed the law of Prophet Moses. Allah gave him a special gift. He memorized the entire contents of the Torah at a time when no one else had memorized it. He then taught it to the children of Israel and guided them with the Torah. One of his hobbies was wandering from one region to another, enjoying the natural beauty around him. A beloved donkey was his means of transportation on every journey. Until finally, one day, the donkey he was riding got lost. After a long time, he finally realized that he was in an area he did not recognize, far from his own country. Uzair arrived in a former settlement area, and it seemed that the country had been a prosperous one. However, now everything was just ruins due to the punishment that befell them, the result of their disobedience to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the ruins were scattered human corpses that were already rotten and destroyed. Uzair stopped for a moment among the ruins of a house. Seeing the horrific sight, he got off his donkey with 2 baskets of fruit. He rested his donkey nearby, then sat leaning against the wall of a collapsed house to rest. After taking out his provisions and eating them, while taking a breath, his thoughts began to think about the rotten human corpses. Oh Allah, now I am leaning against a house whose walls have been damaged. Here it was that people used to live and reside. They considered each other friends or enemies. However, their bones are now completely gone. How can people who have died and been destroyed be brought back to life in the afterlife? That was the question that came to his mind. After finishing a piece of bread and drinking, he lay down and fell asleep. Unbeknownst to him, Prophet Uzair fell into a deep sleep. His sleep was extraordinary. Not just for an hour or a night, a day, a week, a month, a year, he still slept. 10 years, 20 years. The Prophet's soul was still adrift in his sleep. But he had slept continuously without waking up for 100 years. During the time he was asleep, the surroundings had become crowded with a new layer. Many houses and buildings had been erected. In that 100 years, everything had changed, while Uzair continued to sleep leaning against the dilapidated wall, becoming an inanimate body. His flesh had disintegrated, and his bones had crumbled to dust. Allah Subhanahu who wa Ta'ala willed it, His Prophet came back to life. Kun fayakun. Then the dead body of Uzair, whose flesh and bones had been destroyed, was reassembled by Allah in their respective parts, and then his soul was breathed into him. And at that very moment the righteous man woke up from his long sleep, came back to life as before. Uzair continued to stand like a man waking up from sleep, and then he looked for his donkey and the fruits in the basket before. Not long after, some angels came down and asked, "Do you know how long you have been asleep, Uzair?" Uzair replied without thinking, "I have been asleep for half a day or a day." "No, truly, you have been here for 100 years. Allah put you to sleep, killed you, and then brought you back to life," said the angel. "It was so that you would know the answer to your question. When you wondered about the resurrection experienced by the dead," explained the angel, "here you have been lying down, exposed to rain and sun, sometimes blown by storms and experiencing cool and hot weather. For such a long time, your food has remained in good condition. But look at the state of the donkey. It has also disintegrated, and its flesh has rotted." The angel said again, "Look and pay close attention. Such is the power of Allah. Allah can bring the dead back to life and restore their crumbled bodies, and with the same ease, Allah will resurrect all the dead people in the afterlife to be examined and judged for all their deeds. Allah has shown this to you, so that your faith may remain firm, and so that you yourself can be a witness to other people, so that you and other people will no longer doubt what Allah has revealed about the afterlife." After Uzair saw his food and his destroyed donkey, Uzair said, "Now I know that Allah has power over all things." Suddenly, he saw the bones and flesh of the destroyed donkey being gathered. And finally, it became as before, alive and moving and standing as before it died. So Uzair said, "Now I know that Allah has power over everything." Then he took his donkey and rode it home. Looking for a road that was difficult to recognize, everything had changed. After struggling to remember the way, he finally arrived at his house. He found that his house was half destroyed, with all the walls almost collapsing. Uzair then knocked on the door of the house, and an old woman came out. Uzair then asked, "Is this Uzair's house?" "Yes," the woman replied. This was Uzair's house before, but Uzair has been gone for a long time, and there has been no news of him, to the point that everyone has forgotten him, and I myself have never mentioned his name except this time," the woman said, shedding tears. Indeed, I am Uzair. Do you not recognize me? Replied Uzair. I was put to death by Allah for 100 years, and now I have been brought back to life by Allah. The old woman was surprised as if she couldn't believe it. Then the old woman said, Uzair is a very pious man. His prayers are always answered by Allah, and he has done much to heal the sick. She continued, I am his servant. My body is old and weak. My eyes have gone blind from always crying in remembrance of Uzair. If you are Uzair, then pray to Allah that my eyes will be bright again and I can see you. Uzair raised his hands to the sky and prayed to Allah. Suddenly, the old woman's eyes opened, and she could see even more clearly. Her old and weak body became strong again, if she were young again. After pondering Uzair's face, she said, Yes, you are Uzair. I still remember. Then they went to meet the people of their land, the Israelites. Uzair introduced himself as Uzair, who had lived in the village over 100 years ago. The news was not only surprising to the Israelites, but some doubted and did not believe him. Nevertheless, the news caught everyone's attention. Therefore, they wanted to test Uzair's truthfulness. Then his own son came and asked, I still remember that my father had a mark on his back. Try checking the mark. If it is there, then he is truly Uzair. After being examined, the mark was indeed proven to be on Uzair. And then some of them believed. However, some others wanted more concrete evidence. So they said to Uzair, Since Nebuchadnezzar's invasion of the Israelite nation and state, and after his soldiers burned the holy book of the Torah, no one among the Israelites memorized the contents of the Torah except Uzair. If you were truly Uzair, then try reciting the correct contents of the Torah. Uzair recited the contents of the Torah, one by one fluently and smoothly without any mistakes. Only then did they believe that he was truly Uzair. At that time, all the Israelites believed that he was Uzair who had died and been brought back to life by Allah. The Israelites were overjoyed that Uzair had returned, and they sought his advice and guidance. However, some of the foolish Jews regarded Uzair as the son of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is above having children, neither Uzair nor Jesus, as all humans are merely his servants. The belief that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a son is a very misguided belief. Let us not doubt the power of Allah. Instead, let us contemplate who created us. It is impossible for something to exist without a creator. If there are still those who doubt the power of Allah, the remedy is only one: to read and understand the Quran. Doubt about the power of Allah comes only from the devil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed a brain in our heads to think. Therefore, let us use our minds to think. Thus concludes our brief story about Uzair. May we learn from it and avoid falling astray. May our love for the Messenger of Allah, peace be upon him, increase, and may our faith and piety in Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala increase. Ameen. Wallahu aklam bi shawab. Wassalamu alaikum.